So, welcome back. You listen to Love Babz Love Talk on WNHH LP 103.5 FM. And that's what I was waiting for. So, see you on the other side.
How you doing?
Hey, welcome back to LoveBabz Love Talk. I'm Babz Rawls-Ivy. This is the second hour of LoveBabz Love Talk, and I am pleased and delighted to be talking to Gary Gates. Hey, Gary Gates.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. How you doing?
Oh, you look very preppy sharp.
Thank you.
So I know you because you do this. When I moved over here 3 years ago, I would see you and two other guys, or a couple of other guys, packing this truck full of grills and porta potties and all this stuff. And you said, "Hey, playing basketball down there. If you ever come down or whatever." I could hear the whistles and stuff from the porch. So then finally, this couple of weeks ago, I said, "Listen, how do you do this? Like, what do you do? How do you do this?" And you were like, "We've been doing this for 22 years and out our own pocket." I was like, "What?" So tell me this story, Gary. How did this get started?
Well, being a kid growing up in Newhallville, there was always some kind of tradition playing at Bassett Park. A guy by the name of Dave Durham was one of the gentlemen that, he would open the gym up at Jackie Robinson. Also, he would have games over at Lincoln Bassett School during the summertime to keep the kids active. It wasn't as much as what we're doing, but it was similar. So I kind of carried on tradition after he passed away, God rest his soul, with that same analogy to help people in the community. So I started out with just a grill, something simple, and just a few friends who had an idea. But by the time 5 years passed around, it became a whole, like, oh my God, the community actually loves this, they need this. And again, sometimes you don't know what your path is until you're actually in it. So by the time I looked up, I was who I was supposed to be. So then we just carried on tradition. Again, like I said, it's been 22 years now almost. It's a fun thing. The community loves it. Again, yes, we did do it out of our own pocket. It was simple in the beginning. Today prices are different. So, it's a little bit more, this, that, and the third. But yeah, it was a tedious progress, and it was all worth it.
So how do you get these kids? How do the kids find you? And tell me the setup of the program.
And so it started out with me being an AAU coach for New Haven basketball. And I knew a lot of the youth. This was 3 years ago. So I knew a lot of the youth already. So when I decided to, utilize them as a part of it, I started with like a kids camp in the mornings from like 10 to 1. And then I would have the older adults and teenagers play from 1 to 7. And as the years passed, these same kids became the kids that I have today, actually running the teams and being a part of it as far as playing as well. And what I did in between that time was I built a program that would have them operable for 6 weeks, from the second week of July to the second week in August. We would have a basketball tournament in between those 6 weeks and then do an end community day, which would be on the last day. And over the time, the community just started to give me so much support from different angles that everything I actually needed was already sitting in my community. I just had to find out and make a connection and get a network with these people. And then eventually I would be able to run the program a little bit better. So that's where I'm at now. I'm in the process of, we did do a program, I say about maybe before COVID. We started at 660 Winchester Avenue, and we were doing a program over there called iLead. It was an acronym. It stood for eventually leading intelligent assets directly into success. So that was our thing. And when we did that, we had a nice turnout of young men and young kids, but overall, we were building the program. So now that we're post-COVID, we have to get back to that. So that's what we're So right now what we're doing is building upon the steps that we originally, it's like we're starting almost all over again. You know, because of this COVID thing, people are afraid to let their kids in any kind of environment like that. So my kid program kind of suffered in the last 2 years because of that. But again, I'm a fighter, man. I'm gonna dig down and keep going. So yeah, the program is gonna be a lot more better, I would say. I would give it another 5 years before you see me looking like, oh my God, I remember this guy.
So the summer league that you run on Sundays at the park, what's the age range of these kids? Because I see you had some professional athletes out there, and
yeah. So what I'm doing is I'll take the age groups from high school to about I would say 35. I even have a 55 out there playing, actually, believe it or not. And he's the oldest player in the league. When he retires, we're giving him a ceremony and everything, like, believe it. So he's been in there that long. So yes, the age ranges are from about 15, maybe 16 on up. So when we were coming up as young men in the communities, in the Black community, is that we would play, the older guys will let some of the younger guys play if you were good enough. But what it did for your game, what it did for your basketball game is when you got back to college or high school, you will have an inner city toughness that you can bring along with you, and it'd be part of your, you know, you're part of your resume. So that's what that was about, mixing the talent up.
okay, so all these teams, do they get to decide what teams they are? Like, how do they decide who plays against who?
Okay, so I set the format up like we do, like the NBA kinds of set theirs up. I have about 10 to 14 GMs that I call them, guys that run these teams. Now, some years it fluctuates. It goes from 10, it goes to 14. Right now I'm at 10. Again, we're post-COVID, so I'm reestablishing this all over again. So right now I have 10 guys who I choose to pick people from throughout the city or wherever you can get them from, and then you put them on the teams. So I won't have to do the legwork. All the players already know me anyway. So, but I choose a certain core of people to get this done. That way, I won't have to search the city myself, and I'm involving every other person that has connections to every section of town and places that I can't reach. So I'm like extending my arm by having that set up. So after I do that,
I was going to ask you about, do these kids come from all parts of the city?
Yeah, they're all over the city.
From all parts of the city.
And that's the trick. On an adult backstory, that's the trick. If I can get the kids throughout the city to play with each other and they know each other, and for 6 weeks, on the 7th week, I can rest, if you understand what I'm trying to tell you. So yeah. I'm doing the work. I'm doing the work to make us as a people understand that. And I think this is lack of communication, lack of unity within the city of these youth, where you'll see the violence occurring. So if you tie them together in an atmosphere that they find fun, but you're also enveloping something that's going to profit them in the long run, then you'll see them at least last for 6 weeks until it's time to go get, back to school. So my job is to carry them from when they get out of school to when they go back to school.
Yeah.
Which would be late August. So I'm kind of just playing my part, and it works out great.
I love it. So do they get this? Do they get do they get prizes? Do they get trophies? What do they get out of this? Like, okay, what's the bragging rights?
Okay, so we give out a big gold, it's not real gold, but we give out a big gold trophy every year. And it's more pride than anything in the city, because it's like the toughest thing as far as basketball. So it's an untouchable element that's really the prize, but the trophy is the physical version of it. Also, we give out community plaques for people that have done for our community over the years that people probably forgot about, or today that may be doing something. So we got a combination of awards when we give out with that ceremony. But yeah, we have a big gold trophy, bragging rights, whatever you need. And let's not stop there, because one year I did uniforms for everyone. I was, utilizing the funding, and I had done uniforms with everybody, and I gave out MVP trophies. I gave out all the kids trophies. Like, so wherever my funding is, I'll be able to go extra. So that's really what it is for me.
I love it. So all boys, no girls?
I started with girls.
No, really?
Yeah, I started with girls. I had the girl mixed in some of the games with the guys. But as I got into it a little bit further, girls started to drift away from playing basketball outside. So I lost that element. But this Sunday coming, I will have a girls' game being played at 4:00. So you're welcome to come down the street and see that. Yeah. So I'm trying to get back to where we were by utilizing, these last 6 weeks to kind of just put everything that I did at one point into one day and then work on it as we go.
So how did you decide on Lincoln Bassett Park? How did you decide on that? Is that the only court in town, or?
No. Well, we started out as more of a community thing. So my work started with the inner portion of Newhallville, the Reed Street section, the Winchester Ave section, the Sheffield section, the Dixwell section, the down near the Rotary section. I started using kids from those because we started to have a problem within our community first. So I started to use the kids within our communities to build the teams. And then they would pull their friends in. Now these kids that were arguing with each other 2 weeks ago are now playing basketball against each other. So as the years grew and the people throughout the city heard about it, I started to, you don't know who you are until it happens. So then I started to utilize what the other people were doing around the city and bring those kids in because they wanted to be a part. Now, because New Haven, we need this unity in this age group in order for them to actually be able to see each other without being a basketball game. When we see each other in West Haven or we see each other in Hamden, it shouldn't be a violent moment. You know what I mean? And I think that's lack of time around each other. Repetition is key. So that's where I'm winning at with that.
Does anybody ask you about how you are so successful with these children? How are you? I mean, everybody's trying to figure out what to do with young people and how to engage them and how to stop the violence. You've been doing this for so long. Like, what is the secret sauce, Gary?
You'll never get it. No. The sauce is just, you got to really be who you are. So many times with politics, especially where we are today, everything is half and half. They mean it and they don't mean it. So, you're trying to get in office, you don't want to get in office. What I understood about Newhallville area, the Ashman Street area, the Rockview area, and even portion of Hamden is this majority African-American. And we have a big vote in this state. I know that. So what I try to inform our people is, let's be mindful of what we're doing. We want to set a precedent and a standard. So when we do come to the table and say to these people, look, we need to, let's just say, get our park redone over. We need some things done here. They won't look at us from a standpoint of we couldn't do it ourselves. So that's what my main focus was. Prove to the city that we as a community can operate as a long-standing by itself. We don't need your funding to operate. So the secret sauce for me is that people respect that moment. They understand that I'm a reality check. I really mean what I'm doing. And also, I'm a kid from the community that had the same struggles as these guys. I mean, a short, brief story on myself. My mom's.
I'm gonna ask you. Tell me your story about who you are.
So, I'm a kid from I'm a young man from a young mother. She had me at 16. I lived with every family member because she had a drug addiction. I didn't know my father until I was 21. I lived with several other families that were connected to my families. That's still family to me to this day. I lived in the Hill for a portion of time. I lived in Church Street South for a portion of time. So my connection with the jungle, before it was all of that, names and all of that.
Before it was all of that, yes.
I lived in Diego Court.
I lived in Christopher Green.
Right. So I probably know you without knowing you, in other words. Lehigh was still up. I went to Prince. I went to Weltjanics. I went to
Prince, and then I went to Gold Street.
Okay, see, so we got something in common here. So that's what I'm saying. So my worth, I just kind of summed it all up being a kid from Newhallville, again, I had the struggles of every community member that grow up there through poverty. It got different kind of weapons, so you don't know which one you're going to fall under. By the time I realized that I was a different kid, I was about 15, 16. I was very talented. I went to Eli Whitney for fashion. I learned how to sew for 4 years.
I went to Eli Whitney too.
See, we got more in common. so that's why I chose to, think of myself as an entrepreneur. So coming from the streets and combining all the street knowledge versus what I had learned in a vocational school and my worth in the community from everybody knowing me and go, you know what, this kid is genuine. He's a kid that had the same struggle as us. His story is identified. I can identify with the words that he's saying. So I can let him speak for me in some aspects because I know that he understands and I know his reality. So, and I didn't abuse that during any time. So by the time I got about 20, 25, I had a few kids, going through that midlife. I decided to go to barber school. And by the year 2000, I opened up a barbershop, opened up on Dixwell Avenue across from where the Highwood was at one point. And this was at 5 years after I was already working on Dixwell Avenue as a barber for someone else. So speed it up to this day, I'm now a barbershop owner of 23 years later and entrepreneur who's also up a clothing line. I've utilized the fashion. I opened up a store on Dixwell 2 doors down called New Haven Apparel. So I could utilize my worth as for somebody else utilizes me. You understand what I'm saying? So over this period of time, that's what I've become. And I just use that same method to get every job done, from the nonprofit, from the store to the barbershop. I utilize my worth, where I came from, what I have, what the people I know. I don't have enemies. Everybody likes me. So, I get that kind of, he's all right guy. So I don't know if you can buy what I have in the store. I don't think you can order this on Amazon. I think you have to be authentic. It has to really be the people choosing you. And then it's something you move from there.
So why are you continuing to do this work? What is it about this work that keeps you connected to this community and to these young people?
Okay, being a talented kid myself, I realized that especially in a type of community that we have, we don't have a facility where our kids can go and do these kind of things, play basketball, have fun, entertain each other. We don't have build unity within each other. So that's one of the portions. The reason why I do it is to help that element still occur. I want to carry on tradition for that. And secondly, I love sports. I love basketball. I love to see this. This is exciting. My son was a two-sport athlete. He went to Hill House. He played football and basketball. He went to UNH on a free scholarship for his football talent. So I've coached this. This is a love that I have. Again, it may take away. My family even understands it. They see the value in what I'm doing. So they give me the moment in time to get this done. Now, I may have felt through the years, oh, Gary, this is the last summer. You're tired. You're getting older. But for some reason, the man upstairs got a different plan, and I'm a part of the plan. And I've understood that over these years. So it's not a hard thing for me to get up and make this happen. I just get up and I'm paying attention to the universe and I'm keeping going. I'm doing what it's telling me to do. When it's time for my body to shut down and it's over, then I'll do that. But until it's the inside, it's the heart. This is not, can't do it in me at a political level if you're not gonna have the people understand that you actually mean it. I don't know if I'm really saying that to you, how I really mean it, but that's
no, I understand.
Maybe that's it right there. Right. If you don't get if the people don't choose you, and that's any position, alderman, mayor, anything. If the people don't choose you for that work, then what you're doing isn't gonna work, especially if you don't mean it. If you have any hidden agenda and you're working with that mass of people, you think somebody's not gonna smell that somewhere along the line? You have to 100% and 10% overly. And it's just to the point where I didn't even know I was doing this sometimes. I'll give you an example. We had a rain date one day, and I'm like, you know what? I know this rain is going to stop. let me just get this broom and sweep this water off the court. Now, mind you, someone's across the street recording me the whole time, and I don't know this. So they put it up on the social media, and I'm getting all these comments about, yo, you know, I can't believe it. You still believed in the dream. Now, I don't see the moment how everybody else sees it because I'm actually doing it. I'm not looking for a social media reply to give me confidence that I'm doing it right. But that did show me one thing, that how people's opinion of you and how they see things is an actual fact. And if you mean it, there was no negative comments within that. You see what I'm getting at? So for me, it was a moment of, you know what, keep going, keep pushing. This is what it is. It takes this kind of work. Whereas, and then to top it all off, we end up having the rest of the day with sun. So,
so what do you want people to know about our kids? What do you want to know? Because our kids are working against a lot of barriers, and
correct.
And the influence of drugs and guns is very much surrounding them.
It is.
But what do you want people to know about these kids or our kids?
Our kids are hidden gems. They have so many gifts and talents that can benefit this world if they have the alternatives to get there. We need financial literacy. We need better education. We need better community involvement to what's going on with them. These little nuances, and not just saying them, but actually doing them. As you see, I'm proof of what actually doing does. So that's the only evidence I can give you is myself. And that's my worth of telling you, if you do it, I guarantee you repetition will give you an advancement. But if you just sit back and say you're going to do these things just to get in office or do this, that, and the third, it's just not going to work. So I would say that what we need to know about our kids is they're hidden gems. They need to be a part of society in a way where we're developing a better version of a human for the next 20 years. These people are going to be running our future. They're going to be the people that's living in the houses that we sit on the porch right now, or we go to for a friend's house, but these are going to be the people that's running these houses. If we don't give them the proper education to get to these next level, I'm telling you, they're going to fail. They're going to do like majority of my age group. I'm a 90s baby, 80s baby. And you know what kind of era that was. 50% of us ended up in jail or died. I'm still dealing with death. Like death to me, I'm almost stoned to it because I didn't see so much death happen from that time to now. So, I'm trying to change that moment. And again, I couldn't outright let them know because they probably wouldn't be, the kids and the youth have such a negative vibe that if you tell them exactly I'm helping you, they might run from you. So you just got to give them something that they're going to attach to. You have to give them something that they're going to attach to and then run from there and involve everything after that. Once you have, like my clientele, I want to say within over this 6 weeks time, I'm probably dealing with 1,000 different kids, that maybe 200 of them I never met, so it's work in progress. It's about saving them to a moment where we as a society can get financially situated where we can put them in better. I'm saving them for the moment of the older people and the mayors to do their job. I'm holding these people on so they can be alive, so they can fill the jobs that they have in the future coming. For God's sakes, Biden just signed a bill that's going to help everybody. Like, there's a way, like the building across the street from me, from where I'm at on Dixwell. I don't know if you're familiar with this. I'm also part of a committee that tried to stop app from coming in and putting that.
I'm low key on that committee. I provided the advice on how to.
Thank you for everything. Thank you. So, and I have my barbershop is directly across the street from there. So I was going to be the most hit, right? Correct. Yes. I was going to be the most hit. I know what drugs look like. I'm from the 80s and the 90s. I know what's going to happen across that street. I've been to Congress Avenue. I know what happens over there. One Long Wharf. I know what happens over there. So my thing was, no, it's not going to be in our community. I've done too much work to let you come over here and just plant your problems from another city into ours. We're not going to do that. and again, we have power in our vote. I know this is little Africa around here. I get that point. But we have to understand, and not to knock, and I'm not a racist, I'm not any of those things, but I'm looking out for our people and what we've lacked these kind of structural environments dealing with the people inside of our community doing for our community. You see what I'm saying? Not just taking these positions and then you have to be quote unquote puppet string to move the way you have to move because it's a political game. I'm not in it for that. That's why I stay to the side. I kind of that's why I like a nonprofit, because I'm able to work as an entity who's doing what it's doing, and you have to provide what you know to help me. That's your job. That's your job as a city official to do what you're supposed to do to help, because I'm doing good. My organization is not based on anything bad. It's based on the terminology of your job title. So therefore, you have to employ what you know. So that now I'm coming to the table as Newhallville representative and not an older person who has to agree with something that you said. So that's why that's why I look at it and I fight like this. It's not that I'm against anyone. It's not that I don't look at a position of the mayor as a strategic, a position of something that he needs to do for this community. I get all of that, but I can do it better job for what I'm doing if I be consistent in what I'm doing. So therefore, that's why I work so hard. It's not about not teaming up. It's about ultimately me saving these people for them to do what they're supposed to do. That's it.
So before I let you go, tell me what is the biggest dream that you want for all of this, for yourself personally, for these young people, Newhallville Corporation? What is the biggest dream that you have for this?
My biggest dream is for the legacy to live on, even after I'm gone. I want this nonprofit to continue. I want this basketball tournament to continue. I would love to see a youth facility building, something drawn up where in our community where these people can have something like Eli Whitney is. They can have vocational skills put in there. It's just that portion of it is my main thing. I would love to see that work like to the point where it's like never ending. Ultimately, again, even when I'm totally gone, I want to see it continue on. I want this program to strive and become something that may be a model for other cities. And lastly, but really firstly, the violence has to stop. So if I can just play my part and, utilizing what I can do to slow that moment down, then I'll continue to do it. So I'm never stopping as long as I'm alive. I got an ultimate goal going here. I think it's working. I think the plan is sufficient. It may need some tweaking here and there. I'm willing to talk and deal with whoever. I'm a sponge. I'm willing to deal with anybody I can to get it done. And again, I just want to see it successful, man. I just want to link up with as many people I can to get it to the right position.
Well, I certainly admire the work that you're doing, and I appreciate the work that you're doing. And you have I've never met anybody who had a real honest take on what young people are up against and how to work along with them. I think what you're doing is incredible, actually. And it deserves this moment, this spotlight, not just on my show, but the piece in the paper and the piece from the New Haven Independent, which we put in the inner city, which y'all are on the cover.
Thank you.
I just think we need more people doing this kind of work without telling people that they're doing this work. Do you know what I mean?
So lastly, I'm gonna leave you with this from me. I ultimately understand you can't take it with you. Leave it here. Do all you can while you're here and leave it here. That's my goal.
I love it. Well, thank you for your time this morning.
You're welcome.
Mr. Gates.
Thank you.
Appreciate
thank you
it.
for having me. And you guys, thank you guys for having me.
It's our pleasure. And I'll see you on Sunday.
I'll be there. All right. Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day. And I love this whole fashion statement today. I love it.
Thank you. You got it. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, Harry Jones. I'm on my way out. I'm on my way to the vineyard. I'll be back next week. Y'all have a good weekend. I'm off tomorrow and Friday because I will be on the vineyard. My favorite place in the world, or my second favorite place in the world. So I'll be back, and Harry Jones will be here. Paul Bass will be here. Somebody will be here. And, you know, we got enough shows that we can do the best of Babz for 2 days. Like, honest to God, we got enough shows. But anyway, we'll be back because there's a lot of other stuff that I want to talk about, but we'll get around to it next week. So hopefully when I step out the door, the weather will be a little bit different than it's been for the last 20 days. But y'all be safe out there, be cool. And I really feel good talking to Gary Gates. I'm going to walk away from this feeling quite inspired. So thank y'all. Thank you, Harry. Have a good weekend.
Mm-hmm.